everyone, and welcome to the Walkie and Talkie Home Games Podcast. This is episode 61. I'm Yazeed, and this is Joseph.
Hello, I am Joseph, and today is Monday, December 21st, 2020, the last regular episode of 2020 of the Home Games Podcast.
I definitely messed up the opening, but let's talk about the Home Games topics for today. Joseph has quite a few. The Walkie and Talkie application.
It's true. The intros were so inconsistent, I didn't even know that you messed it up, because it's kind of different every time. So it's all good. But yeah, anyway, so for home game stuff, I have my walkie-talkie app, hence the Walkie and Talkie episode. And then I have some updates on the kind of services and stuff I've been building out over the past couple months that enable some of the new features that I've been talking about.
And on my end, I did work on the train placement algorithm I talked about last week, aka all roads.
Oh, you shortened it.
One square.
Oh.
I should just shorten it to all roads, but we'll see how this goes. I might just acronym it ARL. All roads
it's very long. Typically, the point is to shorten it. Last week when you were like, the nickname is the all roads lead to Rome algorithm. I was like, well, fuck, man. What's the full name? What's the Nicholas name on that bad boy?
I guess the TPA, the TIPA,
the something path algorithm,
terrain placement algorithm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I missed that one quite a bit. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But first, what was up with you this past week, Yazeed?
Mostly it's just been Cyberpunk, dude. I'll be honest. It's been a lot of Cyberpunk.
Yeah?
It's been a lot of Cyberpunk.
Have you been following more of the controversy since we last spoke?
No, I follow the controversy even less now.
Really?
After finding out, okay, on one hand, it's really messed up that, they came out with a game that doesn't work on PlayStation or Xbox, and they have to refund it, and this whole nightmare for all these people who were excited for it. On the other hand, it's just a game and I'm trying to enjoy it. I don't necessarily need to know all the background story for it. But I had paid for this game so long ago.
Isn't it on some level, though, not super... from my perspective, it's not really excusable to just say that it was bad and it happened, but at least for some people, it's not bad.
No, I think it is bad. There's not really much I can do about it. I pre-ordered this game before, I pre-ordered this game months and months and months ago, and I had been excited to play it, and I play it. They don't get any extra money out of me playing it, so I don't know what I would do to help the situation, if that makes sense.
Do you feel
I don't have a story to add? I'm just it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I guess I just don't agree with you. So
that's fine.
I every bullet point there I don't really have an argument against, because I don't care really. I don't care that someone on PlayStation is having a bad time, really. But I do think that CD Projekt Red in some ways fucked over their customers, and in some ways should have to pay for that, and on some level they are right now with the refunds and all this kind of stuff. But it's embarrassing. It's gotta suck for them, and we talked about this last week. It's gotta suck for them having worked on this thing that you think could probably be the game of the year if it just had more time. But instead, This is how it all had to work out.
No, yeah, I agree. And when it comes to voting next year at the Game Awards or whatever, I'm going to vote against Cyberpunk. Even though I really like it, I can't vote for it saying it was the best game ever when it's just it's this rough for so many people. And it's so obviously rushed in ways
But do you think they'll care? Realistically, I don't think anybody would care about losing best game at Game Awards.
I think that for the amount of money they've put into this game and the years and years of build-up, not winning that award is kind of devastating.
But they've already...
I think if they made money, that's cool and everything, but I think that people want that recognition, if that makes sense. Last of Us 2 winning Game of the Year after all the controversy about it and people having legitimate criticism and then having not legitimate criticism, I think that was a big moment for them. I think that if Cyberpunk doesn't win it, I think CD Projekt Red's probably gonna Like, I don't want them to win it because it also sets like a bad precedent of like, yeah, you can like kill your employees, put out a game that's like not really finished, but if you have enough hype behind it, if you have enough marketing campaign behind it, if you have Keanu Reeves behind it or whatever, like people will vote it anyway, and it'll be the best game ever anyway.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is but I would say that voting doesn't matter at all. In the same way that like winning a Grammy doesn't really matter because, yeah, you get like some recognition from some board of people who are supposedly important or by fans or whoever voting for you, but that doesn't represent like your actual audience. Like your sales represent that audience, and EA getting voted the worst company in America and then having record profits like at the same time doesn't. There's a disconnect there, and I don't think they actually care if people are voting against them as long as they're making profit, which in this case, CD Projekt Red, outside of the refunds, definitely were.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think for me that's like the only thing I can do. Like I can't do anything else. Like I can't get a refund from Steam because I've put too many hours in and I've been enjoying the game. So like I would be hesitant to put in a refund anyway.
Yeah.
But so like I don't really know what else I can do for them. Like I can't really help and people. I can't help the people who are affected by the bugs. Yeah. The only thing I really can do is vote against Cyberpunk, and maybe they won't even care, but at least that's something I can do. You know what I mean?
I mean, in a perfect world, we didn't pre-order the game. We saw that it was broken for the majority of players, and then chose to not support it until they fixed it. But we're like weak people, so we didn't do that. But that is something that we could have done.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, maybe next time I'll be even more hesitant to this is the first game I've pre-ordered in a very long time. I was really excited for it, and I pre-ordered it like months and months ago before we even found out that this game was probably gonna. I pre-ordered this like 2 announced release dates ago or 3 announced release dates ago. It's like I've had this game for a while, waiting and having it. It's like I would have had to refund it a while ago, basically, or I would have had to refund it like when we found out all that stuff, but. I don't know. I do feel bad for them. I don't know what else. Like I don't know what I could do for them really. Like I would have had to know the future. It's like this is gonna be an absolute like hellstorm.
Well, I mean the whole thing that
avoid it.
When you pre-order, you're essentially betting on the future that it's going to be a game that's going to be worth that money. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on you for pre-ordering. I'm just saying this is like a thing that we could have done. I'm just trying to think of how does a consumer tell CD Projekt Red that this is like really not good. They need to see some sort of backlash from this because it sets a precedent of not good stuff. Like games shouldn't be broken when people buy them. If someone, this was a thing I thought of often, like 5 years ago too, something like that. But it was when day one patches started becoming really, really prevalent, and I was thinking, like I know people, right at the time I did, people who don't have internet still. And people who don't have fast internet, people who don't have access to that kind of stuff. And that's a lot of people. And so saying like, yeah, this game came out and yeah, you can go to a store and yeah, you can buy it. But if you put that disc in your console and you're not downloading our 40 gigabyte day one patch, that game is beyond fucked. If you get the patch, then it's pretty fucked. But it's like, this is not a good state to be selling products to people. Like something needs to happen. And I just don't know what, like you said, I mean, it really is like there's not a lot that you could do, but something should happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess next time, even if I'm really excited for a game, I guess the move would be to wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, wait a month, just to see how the release goes, and then pick it up afterwards, or pick it up when it goes on sale or something like that. I've done that with other games I was pretty excited for. It's just this one I was very excited for, and I don't think there was really a way to know. I guess we should have known when they kept pushing the release date back that something was wrong.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know. I just, it's kind of funny because we talked about how we've seen a lot of the process for Cyberpunk, and it's like, well, they announced the date and the original teaser was like 8 years ago and all this stuff, and we've seen the process to the point where when it's finally done and about to come out, people are so tired of hearing about changes and they just want the game. They're so over information and they just want the game. But if you had no information and the game just came out, it'd be pretty amazing. And it's funny because the same week was Cyberpunk, this long-awaited thing, and then Men on the Moon 3, which was announced and released within 4 days. It went from no info to like peak of hype, and then it's here. And I would say that's probably better. Like, I want games to be like that. I don't want to hear the release date until it's like really close and you mean it.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think we should really allow pre-orders until like a hard release date is set. Basically, once they go golden or whatever that phrase is, then they can open pre-orders. I'd like that to be like instated.
Wait, Cyberpunk just did that and then still pushed it back. I mean, nothing is final until the game is in people's hands. There have been cases of games, what was it, was it NBA Live? Something like that. It was an EA Sports game, NBA game that came out maybe 5-6 years ago. In my head, everything happened 5-6 years ago. I have no idea how time works.
It happened 15 years ago.
Yeah. But it was produced, it was put on discs, it was sold to stores, and they had them in the back rooms, and then the game was canceled because it was so busted, apparently. But that game was made. They were going to sell it. So, I mean, at no point in the process can you just promise, like, oh, this is going to be better by this time. That there was I think we talked about it maybe last week, but there's a dude I watch on YouTube, Modern Vintage Gamer, talked about the process of, like, certification for the game and how this whole thing works. But the short version of it was they had to get the game certified by the console makers, so Sony and Microsoft. So they would say, yeah, this doesn't crash our system. This isn't, like, a virus, This can be sold. But then they came back and said, hey, there's all these bugs, like this shit is busted. And then CD Projekt Red has to basically promise that they're going to fix these things with the day one patch. And that's what they did. But they didn't fix those things with the day one patch. So then what happens? Nothing? I mean, like, they just pull it from the store. Or on Sony's side, they'll pull it from the store. But, like, how does this not happen in the future?
I don't know. I don't know how to fix the problem.
Fix it, Yazeed.
Like, the cause of the problem is just like people are weirdly greedy about it. CD Projekt Red probably figured that probably fewer people are gonna actually refund it than are gonna just hold on to it anyway, and they're probably right about that. Which is that's like a totally messed up position to take, but
yeah,
it's not really like externally. The only thing that you could say is if everybody refunded the game. But some ways that's not viable. Like, I can't refund it on Steam. I put 20 hours in. I'd have to, like, get an extenuating circumstance from Steam to get the refund through. Well, no. Or if Steam came out and said it doesn't run well enough, and they'll offer refunds for it.
Well, yeah, the only reason you would refund it is because it's like a protest thing. But it's like, oh, darn, I already played too much of this game I'm enjoying. Like, can't help you out, guys.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, if everyone refunded their game, they would pay attention, right? Because that means they went from having, huge crazy profits to having zero income, and which means basically lost a huge amount of money on this game.
Yeah.
Until they fix it, and then presumably people would buy it again. But I think it'd be very difficult to convince that number of people to refund the game.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if everybody on PlayStation and Xbox refunded the game.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
My whole thing is just never forget. Like, never forget that this happened. Because if you look at something like Fallout 76, when that game came out, it was super beyond fucked. People were so mad about it for all these different reasons for like a month. They started patching it and everything was different. Now you don't really hear so much about it, and it's kind of the anger, the kind of problem with that game is kind of just lost to history. It's like no one really gives a fuck anymore that was so bad. Mm-hmm. It's like people need to remember that was really bad.
Yeah, I guess going forward, I would be more careful about buying games when they release, and I'd rather wait to get them.
Yeah, but I won't. I'm gonna pre-order Gears of War 6 the day I can because I'm an idiot.
I really haven't pre-ordered a game in a long time. I don't even know before Cyberpunk, the last game I pre-ordered. Boy. I mean, I've been a part of some early access games, but probably The Forest then would be the last one I was a part of early access.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing where you can just tell people that you're going to finish it and then just don't. So that's pretty fucked too.
I guess they did finish it because...
Not in the Forest case, I just mean early access. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of like a rough position. I mean, I've been enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is what I was hoping it would be, and I haven't really ran into any game-breaking bugs. That basically means I'm like one of the 1% lucky people who.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I did the exact same thing with Arkham Knight, the Batman game on PC. Apparently, it was broken for like everybody, and it worked just fine for me. So I played it, I beat it. The game was pretty awesome. Like I really liked it. People were very mad, but I really liked it. But yeah, that same kind of thing.
People are very mad. One thing I will say about people who play video games, they're very mad, but they'll buy the game anyway, and they won't refund it. They'll hold on to it until it's fixed. They'll just be mad about it.
That's the problem. Like we have to. People need to do something. But I'm not going to be that person. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not gonna be that person either.
Yeah.
I put too many hours in. I put too many hours in.
That's a hilarious excuse. Like I've played this game because I really like it. So sorry, guys. I just can't support you and your cause.
Well, I mean, I literally cannot. Right. The only other option was for me to buy a new copy of Cyberpunk and then refund that one.
Yeah. I wanted to buy, we were in Target yesterday, and I wanted to buy a physical PS4 copy of it because they had them there, and I was like, oh shit, it's rare, because you can't buy it on the store. Like, I just wanted it. I don't know why. I'm stupid.
Your lizard brain was like, ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait, I don't know, another 2 months for all of the Cyberpunk merch that so many people bought. See, that was the thing though about the Cyberpunk hype though that was I think got too high. People were spending like hundreds of dollars on jacket, like making their own custom jackets and stuff, and like making their whole room Cyberpunk 2077 themed and like stuff like that. That's like way over the top for a game you've never touched.
People do that for everything, dude, where it's like,
I know, that's too much.
Or when people are like, I spent 16 days drawing this character from this trailer. It's like, you're fucking crazy. Like, what are you doing? Game's not out. There's no fan base for this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, that'd be like if I bought a surfboard rack before I lived anywhere where I could surf or knew how to surf or owned a surfboard.
Yes, it's exactly like that, you see. Now that I think about it, wow.
Yeah. I'm not just using that example because I've thought about doing it. So,
We have a neighbor with a boat. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
This lake's within 2 hours of us. That's fine.
2 hours, buddy. 2 hours. That's so
Listen,
far.
if you own a boat, you're not worried about driving 2 hours with that boat.
I would be. It's like I'm weird about driving with things attached to my car. I don't drive U-Hauls. I'm pretty sure I'm going to die every time I get in any vehicle like that. So maybe that's just me.
I don't think I will. I'm careful around other people driving U-Hauls because I'm like, I've seen people regularly drive.
I also know how much of a view of your rear view mirror you have, and it's 0. So you're basically driving blind in a U-Haul.
It's basically you have your side mirrors, and that's it.
Yeah.
Wait, what's happening with you?
Nothing really. I didn't do anything except work on home games and try to keep my life together for the next little bit until my vacation. So right here next to me, I have all these gifts I need to wrap before Christmas. So that's why I have a blanket over them, because it's not a pretty sight. And yeah, I seriously did nothing except work on home games and work this week. So
dang, that's commitment to the cause right there.
Yeah.
I put in a lot of hours of Cyberpunk. I'll be honest.
Great.
I'm kind of addicted to that game. I'll be real.
That's fine. One of us is over here putting in home games hours.
I know. Putting in the hours, making that bank, and I'm out here.
No, dude, I'm making no bank. I'm so mentally fragile right now. It's like a Jenga tower with no more spots left. I'll fucking come toppling down at any moment. I'm just trying to fall down chin on the finish line.
A Jenga tower with no more spots left.
No more moves.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
How?
If you just have sides and centers, you just have because your support is all on this side and this side, and then the one above it is just center. So at this point, you can literally move no more. It's as tall as it'll ever be. It's the most unstable it'll ever be. It's peak Jenga. Anyway, no, my life is falling apart, and life is really tough, and it's hard to keep it together. So that's where I'm at.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Home games
2027.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else about okay, listen. So I took my dog to the groomer, and she's anxious about being separated from me. So I have anti-anxiety medication from the vet. So I gave her the anti-anxiety medication, but I don't like giving it to her because when I do, she's like, I think she thinks that she's sick or ill or something because she doesn't move very much and she tries to like stay as close as possible to me. And it was the first time she's ever tried to climb into my lap. But she weighs 70 pounds and is quite large and so can't fit in my lap. But she tried her best and it was adorable, but I had to tell her no, and I felt bad for it.
We have this thing where we have a patio set in the backyard, and Pepper will sit in the chairs like a human, and it's pretty funny.
You mean like leaned up with her back against the back of the chairs?
Well, she just sits in the chair, like she just gets in it and then looks at us. So like she doesn't put her back against it because that would be weird as fuck for a dog, but she just like sits in it.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
Sapphire is not allowed on any furniture, so she doesn't get chairs.
Is outdoor furniture? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, that's going to do it for our conversation on is outdoor furniture.
That should be a rapid fire question.
Yeah, no, I seriously have nothing going on in my life except for home game stuff, so I'm just waiting for someone in this room to say home game stuff.
All right, man, let's move on. Home game stuff.
Home game stuff. So I worked on some home game stuff this past week.
Mm-hmm. This man says.
And so just to kind of recap why I went so hard on home games is because basically I need a vacation. I'm going on vacation starting Wednesday night / Thursday. 2 more days of work. And at this point, technically, besides editing this podcast that we're recording now and then recording and editing kind of a year special wrap-up thing that I'm doing with Sinovia, like I'm done with home game stuff for the year. So like I'm done writing code. I'm on vacation from writing code. So I had certain goals I had to hit before doing that. So that's why I have all these changes this week. So basically, at the moment, I have on Pico de Gallo is a deployed version of my walkie talkie that I said I was going to build. So it's a simple button. You can click it and you get control of the microphone. You can then talk. And your voice is echoed to everybody else in the room. You don't hear it yourself because that creates a feedback thing of the audio from your speaker goes back into your mic, goes back into your speaker. So you get the like looping audio thing. So it's a quick hack to fix that. Instead of trying to actually fix it, I just made it so you can't hear yourself, and mission accomplished there. And kind of with that, I had some changes to Squish and the game session stuff and some of the kind of underlying logic, the actual engine stuff there, to support that. Have you gotten a chance to mess with the walkie-talkie, Yazeed?
Yeah, I actually messed with it today.
What do you
It's
think?
pretty cool. I like it. I like when you press the button, it lets you know who's talking.
Yes.
First time I pressed the button, I was like, who? And I was like, oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah, it uses the randomly generated name to just say who's talking. It doesn't say who else is in there, so you don't know if you're ever talking to anybody, but I suppose someone could just go there and then listen to everybody testing it out, because there could be people on the other end you don't know. So
Boy, wouldn't that be weird?
it would be weird. I tweeted the link earlier from the Home Games Twitter, so it is possible people are seeing that link. But yeah, I guess before I kind of start just talking about what I did there, did you have any specific things you wanted to know about how it's working, Yazeed?
I mean, I know you put out the PR, so
That's a draft, by the way. Don't
okay.
review that really.
Well, I mean, I'll probably take a look at it just to see how it's working, because in my head, getting voice to travel through the internet is like impossibly hard. Like,
yeah, dude, fuck.
Like prohibitively hard. Like, oh, was it difficult?
Yeah, so my whole thinking from the beginning was that we would stream audio, right? Like you capture mic audio from the user, and you get some sort of byte stream that you can then just pipe to the WebSocket server in some sort of increments, and then that would just basically play it back. It's like, oh, cool, a byte stream. But it's a long story short, but essentially we are not doing real streams. We are taking very short recordings and sending them off in chunks. The difference here is if I'm streaming audio to you, you hear me as I'm talking, right? Like before I finish saying the word, you hear me start saying the beginning of it. And there's no real delay except for the time it takes for the bytes to get to you, right? That's really streaming, like YouTube streaming or whatever, like kind of stuff, live streaming. But a recording is different because you have a chunk that is like finished audio, start and finished. Here's an audio chunk. I'm going to send it to you. And this thing it's done. Like, it's not still happening. And there's a fundamental difference in how that data is handled kind of in computers, just in general. So I spent a lot of fucking time, maybe like 2 days, looking into just how to get that raw byte stream. And looking at different media, like different microphone APIs and stuff like that. And like, oh, this doesn't work on Safari. Oh, this does with a polyfill. Oh, that doesn't support it anymore. Oh, this is deprecated. There's a whole thing there. The whole, being a web developer, everything is deprecated. Things change all the time. Everything is garbage. That whole thing continues to be true. So basically there's this media recorder API in the browser that lets you basically get a stream, take a chunk of it, and then get it back. The reason that the raw audio stream stuff didn't work, so I eventually found a function that gave me that raw byte stream. But the problem there is that the audio it was giving me wasn't always guaranteed to be playable audio. So this is actually documented in the API stuff. It's like if you call, so the process is I have a stream. I basically say, hey, user, can I get your microphone? The user says yes, or they say no. They say yes, and then the callback executes, and then the home games client is able to say, okay, well, now I'm doing something with the microphone and the microphone data. And you can say, okay, give me a chunk of that audio. And when you call it the first time to get that chunk, it has like the beginning of the audio and then up to the point where you called it to get the chunk, right? So say, sorry, that's not how, so if I say, get chunk 500 milliseconds, it'll call, and then for the next 500 milliseconds, it'll record and then give you 500 milliseconds of that stream. On that first call, it'll work because it got the beginning of the data. Like it started recording and included that start kind of chunk in the data it gave you back. If you call it a second time, I think it's because it's missing the beginning and maybe there's some header set there or there's something in the data. But basically, if we try to play the second chunk, it won't work. It won't be complete. It needs that beginning chunk to actually play. So what this means is like if I have an audio stream that I open up on the client and I say every 100 milliseconds, give me a chunk to pipe out to the server, so then I'll basically echo it for everybody. That'll only work on the first chunk. On the second chunk, it's like, no, this is just incomplete audio data. We need to have the rest of it. So if you wanted to have the rest of it, you would need to hold the bytes in memory, concatenate them all together, and then play them back in one thing after someone's done. But that's not a walkie-talkie. That's like a voice memo. So that doesn't give you live talking. And if we wanted to kind of mimic the live talking because we couldn't get a proper audio stream, we have to basically start and finish recording chunks every time. Like we have to then close that media recorder, open up another one to get that next chunk because the bytes, again, cannot be just read after the first one. This was a frustrating discovery that I made. And I thought for a little bit that this would be kind of like a deal breaker for the walkie-talkie app. But that was only like a 30-minute thing until I realized I can just record in these chunks and all this kind of a thing. So I had to add a new buffer game entity type. So like in home games, there's all the different types of game nodes. You can have a shape, you can have text, you can have an asset. And an asset is defined in a similar way. Like you have a file, you have an MP3, you have an image, you want to do something like that. You need to know what it is ahead of time and declare it, kind of define it in your code, and then say, when you call get assets, these are the assets I'm going to refer to later, and then the game server will kind of pre-cache all those assets for all the clients, and it's handled in a special thing. But now we have this new thing of the clients are creating data. It's not just something you can know ahead of time. So I had to create a new game node type of buffer, which just accepts arbitrary buffer data, and then you can give it to certain player IDs. So I can basically embed a node in the game state that is playing audio and only give it to a certain amount of people. And that's all this is. So that's how I do that. I just create them and then put them in the tree.
Oh, cool. Nice. Is there a chance then that somebody, we won't send a word that somebody said or like a noise that somebody said because the buffer is one's closed and then there was like a pause as the other one was opening?
That is possible. Yeah, you can kind of tell the audio is a little skippy and chunky and shitty if you do the thing now and just listen to you back on another computer. There's definitely little weirdness because I don't know. I don't think that thing is very fast. Like accessing the mic takes time, and you could really feel it on iOS and in Safari. Like it runs like total shit. And I think it's because certain callbacks just take forever to execute and things like that when accessing those APIs. So yeah, it's pretty not great. I think in a more general sense, this is more proof to me that we need to have native apps. I need to build an iOS app that can just take this raw data and render it using kind of native iOS rendering capabilities instead of doing what we're limited to within a browser. Things like iOS Chrome doesn't work because iOS doesn't give Chrome permission to access the audio APIs or something, so you can't record audio from Chrome on iOS, and that's just a limitation of the thing. I just don't like these things, and I want to get around them, so we need to have native apps, but that's a ton of work, and I have to learn Swift and all this other stuff, so that's work that I will do at some point. But seeing the microphone stuff run on iOS currently in the browser is proof that we need to do something.
Mm-hmm. God damn. That sounds very difficult to have done. So I'm excited even more so to read the PR now, or at least to look over it and see how it all works and it's put together.
It's shit, dude. Another thing was in Squish, the game nodes, the way that they work is that essentially a game node has certain properties that need to have a squish or unsquish implemented. And so it's just a function that's called that says, hey, here's some object or here's some property that you have on a game node. I need you to write the implementation to turn this into a array of bytes. And each byte needs to be between 0 and 255 because this is an unsigned 8-bit integer array. So that's how Squish works, and that's just whatever. When you unsquish, you take this array of bytes, and then you say, okay, well, here's how I translate it back to, a string or something else, whatever. And so in these array payloads, they're all sent as like one giant array. Your entire game tree is squished as one giant array. And the way that the client moves through them to know that a game node starts and ends is because a game node defines how big it is and says, okay, well, me, the game node, I'm 46 bytes. And then so the client will say, okay, well, then 46 over here is the next one. And then, okay, 50 from over here is the next one. So then you get all these chunks. And then within the chunks, you can say, here's how long this field is. So my name is 7 bytes. My name is 3 bytes. My description is 12 bytes, whatever. And so it's all just these offsets so that the client knows what chunks to read and interpret as certain things. So the problem there becomes if I have a buffer, right, of arbitrary data coming across, and I need to say, this is how big my buffer is. Because it's an 8-bit integer array, my maximum value is 255. Before, I only allowed 1 byte for the size, meaning that any particular game node or property within it could be maxed out at 255 bytes. Because anything larger than that, we couldn't actually represent its size correctly given the 1 byte of data that we have. If it was bigger than that, we would have a wrong number for the size. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do in order to support things like audio streams, which typically have, more than 255 bytes in them, unless they're super, super small, was I had to be able to encode sizes that were larger than 255. So instead of just allocating 1 byte for size, I allocate, 1 byte for size, I allocate 8, which is a lot, and it doesn't need to be that big. But essentially what the logic there is so with these 8 bytes, they can all be from 0 to 255. The leftmost byte here is 255 to the 7th power, 255 to the 6th power. I'll go from the right. It's hard for me to start on the left. On the right side, it's the number represented on the number that you have stored on the rightmost side of the array is that number times 255 to the 0th. All right, so if I have 1 here, then it's 1 times 255 to the 0th, which is 1, so it's 1 times 1. So an array of 7 zeros followed by a 1 represents 1. Similarly, an array that's 7 zeros followed by a 255 is 255. But when you have 256, you then need to move over to the left one. So then it becomes 1 is the number second from the right. So you follow me. Hold on. 1.
No, listen, I get it.
times 255 to the first. So then it becomes 255 times 1 plus the number to the right of it. See what I'm saying? So then it's like you basically the rightmost is 255 to the 0th. The one to the left of that is 255 to the first, and so on until you hit 255 to the 7th. So the number on the left is that number times 255 to the 7th plus the number after that times 255 to the 6th plus whatever times, and it goes on. Basically, I did some math, and now the max size is much larger. We can encode the max size to be, I put that into Google, and I think it's 255 to the 7th minus 1, right? Like, is the actual total.
255 to the 8th minus.
It's to the 7th because it starts at the 0th, and there's 8 bytes total. So to the 7th, are you
cover 7?
Oh yeah, 8, and then minus 1 because all the others. Got it. You're right. Okay, shit. So it's even bigger than this. Anyway, we'll never have a file this big. I guess is my point. It's like,
well, we hope we don't have a file that big. I think at that point it would take too long to send over the internet.
It put an E in it when I typed into Google. Yeah. It was like 7.0111 whatever. E plus 16. So it's a big fucking number, and it's more than this. It's this times 255 because I calculated this 255 to the 7th, but it's actually 255 to the 8th. So
it's this
255 to the
8th minus 1.
Yes. Minus 1. 1.78781033.5E19. Big fucking number in English. I don't know what number that is. It's big. We could probably
it's huge.
You could probably send 4K videos over home games now. It'll just take forever.
Nice. That is huge. You basically started a 255 base system, which is interesting.
Yeah, I had to whiteboard it because it's like really hard for me to get my mind around like math sometimes. So I just had to draw it out, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like when I told you I was like dummy faded that one night, and I was just writing code, like freestyling it, and I had some math it worked, but we had no fucking idea why. It was like that.
Yeah, I still don't know why that actually works. I still need to sit down and like write out and figure out why it actually does what you said it does.
Yeah, I'd be the worst like academic person because I would just figure shit out and then be terrible at documenting it. I'd be like, I don't know, man, just like get some indica, fucking sit down. You're like.
There's so many like mathematicians I imagine throughout history who figured something out but then couldn't be bothered to like explain it to anybody else.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like I'm sure multiplication was invented repeatedly, but only like the last few people were like, I'll write it down this time.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention was we talked about this. We were texting about this, but in order to have access over the mic, you need to hold the button down, and as long as you're holding the button, you get access to the mic. Before I did this, we didn't have any kind of way to know if someone was holding something. We had a way to say when they clicked on something, when they got their mouse off of it, when they hit a key, stuff like that. But being able to say in an easy way, like when they hold this, do something, we didn't have that. So now there's an on hold and off hold function I've defined for game nodes, for shapes at least. Which is exactly that. So you can have a click, which is defined as like that initial mouse down. Sorry, I was celebrating with some Budweiser and now I'm burpy. So what was I saying? When you get the click listener when you first get the click, and then on the second so home games on the client is constantly looking at the mouse and what you're doing. It has kind of like a render cycle, and each tick of that render cycle, it's looking at where your mouse is, if your mouse is down, if your mouse is up, all this kind of stuff. And so we basically just used that to determine if someone's holding on something, if on the second cycle their mouse is still down and they're still clicking on the same thing they were clicking on the last cycle. In that instance, we say, okay, yes, they're holding this. And then when they move their mouse off of it, or when they move their mouse up, we'll say, okay, they're no longer holding this, and then it'll just trigger the event back to the game node, call your callback, and you can then set your state or however you're doing it. So that's all we're doing there. And it's the same thing as taps, because we have a click function that exists outside of like the individual event listeners. So it's just called for taps and touches and clicks and whatever else. So it works on mobile as well. One thing I'm just going to go down the other thing. One other thing that was kind of a tough challenge at first, but actually ended up being not that bad, was how do you tell a client that it's recording, right? So like one of the things that we had initially was that clients should be as dumb as possible. They should just get data from the server and render it and then send input back. But if you're going to get mic data, there's this different sequence of events where you first have to determine whether or not you can get the mic data. Someone might not have a microphone plugged into their computer, which is totally reasonable. Or they don't want to give you access to it, another totally reasonable thing. And then if they do, then you have to be able to know when you should be sending mic data. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of resources capturing mic data and then realizing that the server doesn't care about it. So I added this new thing of state messages to the game session. So previously, my initial thinking here was that I would have a state node in the game tree where I would say, this is a game node of type state, and it has this state code on it. And so utilizing the same player ID whitelist stuff that we have for game nodes, we can say, basically send this state message to this number of players, and then they'll get some sort of message. And then they'll do something. In this case, would be requesting mic access and requesting the mic audio stream. And then the client would then have to know that it has to send that back in that thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I've created these like state codes, which is just at the moment start recording audio and stop recording audio. But the problem that I had in my initial thing was I'm putting something in a game tree and hoping that the clients see this change and then update it. And then at some point, I'm going to have to remove this from the game tree. Because if I have like 10 players and I say, okay, well, I have a node in the tree for 10 players that says don't record audio. And then if I have one player recording audio, I then have to create one node that only this player can see that says start recording audio. But then on my previous node that says stop recording audio, would I then have to remove this player from that node so they don't see one that says stop and one that says start? Okay, well then yes, I would have to do that because I don't want them to have like undetermined behavior, undefined behavior if they have one saying start, one saying stop. Well then, okay, well then I need to make sure that I remove the other node and set that one state and guarantee that this person's not seeing it before I add this one. And then I need to say, well, now that I've added this to the tree, at what point does someone verify, basically send me the ACK code saying that they got the state message and that I don't need it in the tree anymore? So basically storing it in the tree was the wrong way to do it. And I went around all that stuff and I still use the state code. It's just a simple 2-byte array now where it's 1 byte saying I'm a state message. Like I'm not a game node. I'm not an asset. I'm not any of these things. I'm a state message. And then the next byte is just the actual message. And so you send it once across the socket. You know that they got it because it's TCP. And this is true with the other game the game updates and stuff. Like any update, you'll be sure that they at some point received it, but you won't guarantee that they actually acted upon what was in it. So anyway, the whole state message thing is the other new thing. Outside of game nodes, the game session can send state messages and say, hey, start recording. Hey, stop recording. And you'll see that if you go on at least on iOS and Safari, if you hold down the button, you get the microphone thing that says it's active. If you let it go, the microphone cuts off because it knows its own state when it should be recording when it's not.
The first time I used it on Chrome, actually, I got the pop-up saying, are you willing to, do you want to give the mic control to this? And I was like, yeah. And then it went.
Yeah, and we don't want to ask that question for games that don't have mic access, right? So we also needed that, like, again, the state message stuff. So all that stuff is working. I guess to kind of talk about where it's at right now, it's all terrible. It's all in GitHub. It's all pushed to some branch. All of them have different branch names. But yeah, Pico de Gallo has the demo of the home games web stuff that is currently pushed. I have a draft PR out, I think, for the home games change to add the walkie talkie. I also reviewed it myself, where I just basically talked about how fucking horrible I am as a programmer. And then yeah, so that's where that's at. When I come back rejuvenated, I'll clean up this stuff and make it, nicer and better and more production ready. But at the moment, it's kind of just like this big rush of work I was trying to get out for my own personal accomplishment reasons.
Nice. I mean, it worked. So good job. You did something that was very complicated and sounds very difficult and painful almost.
It was
in some ways.
It's just fun. Like, I don't know, getting this stuff to work sometimes is just, it's the part of programming that I really, really enjoy. Sometimes programming is hard, and it's like, it just takes a lot out of you, I guess, when you're banging your head on certain problems that, at least for me, sometimes it feels like I just need to solve, and like I can't really go on living in a normal way until they're solved. So getting stuff working is like really, really great, you know?
Yes. Very impressive work. Nice job, man.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to vacation.
I bet. On my side of things, basically, I spent time converting my DFA into like actual code. Some of the things I ran into that I didn't really think about when I was doing the DFA was the verify step. I didn't actually clarify how that would happen, and that's actually where I left off with, because I want to write this as generic as possible, meaning that somebody should be able to pass in like a shape that isn't a square, and it should work still. I'm trying to figure out if you can move through this space, and I don't actually know how I'm gonna tackle that. I guess I need to take in an integer, or a value, not an integer necessarily, but a number that's the widest part of somebody's shape. Maybe the other option is that I actually generate a shape, move it via the increments, and see if it collided with anything. But it becomes more and more difficult to do what I was saying last time, where I would track all of the spaces I've been to to get there.
What are you talking about?
Because now what I have is like an array of arrays, basically.
You're talking about optimizing performance at a certain point, though, right? With all that stuff, it's not really core to the implementation.
Well, I mean, tracking what squares you've been to is not core to the implementation, but making sure your square can fit through is core to the implementation.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying this burns me a lot, but if I often think about how I'll make something fast before I figure out how I'll make it work at all, and then I get hung up on the fast part. So it's like just trying to get something working.
Well, so I know how I would do it, right? Basically, I would iterate over the array, placing a like the shape that you gave me as your player shape. I guess, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it for one for right now, and then we can take an array and do it for an array of shapes. But one for right now, you get your array. So you have your board. You place a shape on the board, and then you try to move it to the end result. If you can get there without running into terrain, cool. And then you just keep doing that, basically placing it in every possible position it could be placed at.
Yeah.
Which works. It's just, it's going to be difficult to make this as generic as I think it should be.
Yeah.
So maybe I try to solve it in this specific case and then look at genericizing it slowly, which was the other option.
To quote my coworker again, you got to build something 3 times before you know it's correct.
Yeah.
Like building out the thing and saying, okay, yeah, this works. Okay, yeah, this part sucks. How do I fix this part? And then you can modify that part and then be like, okay, well, the overall system is still working. And then that's when you can start to mess with stuff. If not, you're like, this executes in constant time and it goes to a linear function that's actually very performant and space efficient. And then it's like, yeah, but it doesn't work. It's like, well, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about performance right now. Basically, I was worried about solving the problem in a generic way, so that you could pass in a not rectangular game board. You can pass in a not square shape. You can pass in an increment that's kind of odd, like a non-standard increment. Like basically, because I use whole numbers. If you didn't use a whole number, it becomes more difficult to do all that stuff. So I just need to solve it in a generic way. So I'm probably gonna write tests for it. So we'll have a test suite against the algorithm as well to show that it works. And that'll be my proof, presumably.
Just saying, don't end up with like a perfect interface where they could all call this function and it would work for all of them if the promise resolved. I haven't gotten that part to work yet. Haven't gotten the actual output of the algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the hard part. I know in my head what the step after that is. I just haven't written that step yet.
Yeah.
Because there's like a lot of other stuff I needed to do to get to that point, which is also something that when I wrote the DFA, it's one of those things where like I like having a DFA, but I forget sometimes how easy it is to be like hand waving large amounts of what end up being work when you're doing your DFA and being like, yeah, so we have like the board. It's like, well, we have the board, but we need to figure out if we're gonna like where we can start to place things on this board and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like you just draw an arrow. It's like determine if the path is possible. Like, I'll figure that out.
Yeah, that's literally what I did. I was like, place shape, verify that's right. Yeah. And then I was writing the code and I was like, that function's enormous and probably has like a bunch of helpers built into it. Yeah. So I think the end result's going to be probably like more closer to a library than a single function that you can call.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I left off this week, and probably over the weekend, my long weekend, I'll probably, I don't know if I'll finish it, but I'll keep working on it anyway.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. That'll be, I don't know. I feel like in the next 6 months or so, we're going to actually have games and cool shit to have. It's just we keep getting stuck on these certain other little things. But I showed this.
The next problem I need to solve for this is vision.
Yeah.
In there where you can only see like 4 squares around you.
Yeah. And then once you get that, you'll have a game, and then I'll go back to this was another thing. So for my clicker game, this is way weeks back. This is what I was working on before I pivoted to HTTPS work. But for my clicker game, I remember talking about how my next challenge was going to be having like a camera view, basically. Mm-hmm. You have kind of like a game, and you're looking at a subset of that game. So if I have kind of like a city builder, and I want to interact with this part of the city, I need to be able to kind of pan to it and then zoom out after kind of interacting with that. And I feel like that's a significant technical challenge, and so maybe I'm going to not shelve the clicker game, but basically I know I need to build this foundation before I can build the clicker game. Otherwise, I'm going to just be taking on too much at one time and get nothing done. So basically, once I finish up this work, and this is me thinking right now, I don't know how I'll think at the end or when I come back from vacation, but I think when I come back, I want to build out that like panning and zooming thing in the same way that you're building a generic algorithm to kind of hopefully build worlds. I will make an algorithm to hopefully view worlds. Maybe it'd be really cool if we could combine the two into kind of like a little developer proof of concept to be like, hey, randomly generated world, and we can click and zoom and whatever else. Basically getting all these features that we have and all these tests that we have and kind of making them really like observable showcases of all of our technology, and being like, you could get the mic audio too if you just do this, or you could build your own world with this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll get there.
We will, eventually.
Yeah, just more work. More fucking work, Yazeed.
More work.
Yeah, it's all right.
Do you have anything else for home game stuff?
Let me review my notes quickly. No. I guess just to kind of emphasize again, performance is a problem on iOS, and we need apps. And we also need to think of a way to, in a non-intrusive way and a not annoying way, make it clear to people when they go to the iOS Safari version of it that, like, this is not it, you know? It's going to run like shit. You should get our app, but not in the way where it's like, welcome to Ace Hardware. Download our app for coupons so we won't shut the fuck up about it, you know? Like, I don't want that.
Ace Hardware is a app?
I was trying to think of something that shouldn't have an app. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a good example because I was like, who gets the Ace Hardware? I was like, okay, well, I know who would get the Ace Hardware app.
Yeah,
but
it's like boomers and app users. There's no overlap here.
No. No, I was in line for something, and this is somewhat tangential. I was in line at a place, and the lady was like, "Oh, do you want to sign up for like our rewards program?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, for sure." And she asked him for an email, and he was like, "I don't have any of those."
Nice.
And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was like, "Bro, how?"
You ever tell them? I really hate when they ask you for your email when you're just like not signing up for the rewards thing. You're just buying anything at the store, and they're like, "Hey, what's your email address? We'll mail you the receipt."
Yeah.
What do you do?
I give him a fake email.
I just I tell them I go Chad as I possibly could and say I'd rather not give them my email.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty alpha.
Kinda is though. How do people respond to that?
They don't give a shit, dude. They don't give a shit in the first place. They're just like waiting for you to leave. They're not listening to what you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just spell my name wrong, and it gets them every time.
Nice. You really showed those fuckers.
I mean, it's easier for me too because I just have to change an I for two E's, so I have to say less letters overall. It's great.
But what if someone actually has the email address and they're just getting all of your receipts emailed to them?
Sucks to be them.
I get that. I have someone in Texas. What?
I was gonna say they better set up a spam folder.
Someone in Texas went to like a lumber store twice over the course of 3 months, and they used my email address for the thing. I've never been to Texas, and it's not my credit card number. It's a different number I see on the thing. But someone is using my email address to send me receipts of their lumber purchases. It's like some serial killer shit. I don't know. Someone is just like stalking me and playing the long con. You know, and
how hilarious would it be if they're actually very frustrated that they're not getting their receipts for lumber?
I don't know. Maybe they should check their fucking email address.
Like they're like, why do I keep not getting the receipt for this? I need to work expense it. Where's the receipt?
Yeah.
And you're out here like, why am I getting receipts for this? I don't want this.
Yeah. It's I'm just trying to think of a joke about needing to prove that you've got wood, but nothing's really coming to me at the moment, so we'll just move on.
Wow, honestly, pretty good.
Just the idea of the
joke.
joke.
That's a good punchline for a joke. That's a good punchline for a joke based on a lumber yard. All right, let's move on to Song of the Week.
Song of the Week. Yazeed, say words.
All right. So last time you told me to talk about my song or your song.
Oh my god.
We've done 61 episodes of this. Like 60 of them have had Song of the Week, but I'm so confused now for some reason of if I talk about your song or if I talk about my song.
Do what feels right.
Okay, I'm going to talk about your song. Your Song of the Week was E40's Choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, this man chooses to get money.
He does.
All right? He does. And he talks about it at length, at great length. I actually really like the flow of this song and like the way that this song is structured.
Yeah.
It's fun. I don't think I would ever listen to it again because the one time was enough for me. But it's like the like da 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 da. Yep. Nope. But yep. But nope. That's like the whole song, and it's great fun.
Yeah,
I liked it.
It's engaging in that way because just from the start of it, you know most of the words. You know that no matter what he says as the question, it's going to be nope, yep, and you're in it already. You know. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I've never played you this song before because this was like my favorite song in 2015. I was playing it nonstop, so I'm surprised you missed this one, but whatever. I'm happy you got to experience it.
I had never heard this song prior to this, and it was a journey. We'll say that. I like the part where he's like, your girl broke up with you. You're gonna cry?
Yeah.
Nope.
Gonna fly overseas.
You're gonna fly to some other country? Yep. And I was like,
Yeah. It's
It doesn't sound healthy, but okay.
I like Star Wars. Nope. Yoda? Yep. What the fuck does that mean? Like he doesn't like Star Wars, but he's wise. I don't know.
But if he doesn't know who Yoda is because he doesn't like Star Wars, how does he know Yoda's wise?
But I don't know if it's not that he doesn't know, that he doesn't like Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's a complex take where you like Yoda but not Star Wars. Mm. There's nuance here.
He's literally an NFA.
Yeah,
it's a throwback joke to some lame stuff.
The reason I chose this, by the way, just quickly, is because similar to how Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy had that versus battle on Instagram I told you about, to a much lesser extent, there's no beef between these two people, but E40 and Too Short, they're friends. They basically been making music together for like 30 years, but they just had a versus battle, and it was very Bay Area hip hop because E40 is from Vallejo and Too Short is from Oakland, so it was just Bay Area hip hop stuff, and Choices was played, and I was like, that's one of my favorite songs ever. I'm gonna go listen to that a lot, and then I did, so it's my song of the week.
Interesting. It's a fun song. I don't know if I could listen to that song on repeat though. I'll be honest. I think one time was enough for me.
It's a little draining when you listen to it back to back to back to back because it's the nope yup does wear off. And he has another song where he tried later where it was basically the same formula, but it was and didn't go over as well. So that's good.
Nah, I'm gonna be honest. Nope and yup are way more distinct than and
Yeah, I agree.
Also, who does the no and the yup? Is that him?
That's him, yeah.
He should use that as his rapping voice. I'm just gonna put that out there.
His rapping voice is iconic though. His like goofy ass voice. The you still live in the trap? You ever go back?
You definitely. If you told me he's not from the Bay Area and he was from like Arkansas, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds about right. But knowing he's from the Bay Area and he sounds like that, I have some questions. Where did he develop that accent?
Dude, just
and that way of speaking.
go listen to E40. Just anything. He basically invented modern slang. Like he just says words, and he says them so confidently and within the correct context that you immediately understand what he means. He's talking about how he's got the yaper. Like, oh yeah, he's financially well off. It's like it just clicks because he just speaks on this like frequency. You know, his slang is something else.
I'll have to take your word from it. Is E40 the dude who came out with his own line of alcohol or whatever?
Yeah, dude. He's got wine. He's got tequila. He's got rum mixed cocktails. He's got malt liquor. He's got all of it.
See, I know a little about hip hop stuff. I knew that.
Yeah.
I didn't know all of that. I knew he had alcohol.
Yeah, dude.
It's close enough, right?
Just go look. There's a song called "Tell Me When to Go" that you must have heard. It was popular when we were in middle school. But that E40 is like, he's got hits. You should look up E40. You should know.
I didn't really listen to music in middle school. I'll tell you that.
That's
much.
so weird, dude. But just look up "Tell Me When to Go." Go dumb. Ghost Ride the Whip. Go hyphy to it. These are all things you'll understand when you look up the song.
Did he make all that up?
Jesus Christ had dreads, so shake him. Yeah, he made a lot of that stuff up.
That's incredible. I'm gonna be honest. Jesus Christ had dreads. So shake him is gonna be one of my favorite lines when I listen to that song. I'll be honest with you.
I'm glad I could inspire you.
Thank you.
Your song of the week though was "Contradictions Maze" by Odyssey and Moo Fresh. Also featuring a word I can't say, Maimona Yusuf. Don't know.
I don't know how to say that word either, I'll be honest.
Yusuf is kind of like my name, so I feel like I should know how to pronounce it. Anyway, this song was cool. This was like a hip-hop song, which first was unexpected for your song of the week. It was very, not like traditional, but kind of traditional. There was like a trumpet in it and some rapping over it, like very on-beat, clear, nice, good, like crafted rapping. Kind of in that kind of a thing, like rapper rapping, but not rap. That doesn't make any sense, but kind of does in my head. Nope. Anyway, point is, I liked it. It was rapping, and it was smooth, I guess is how I would characterize it. It's not music that goes on my playlist, so I didn't put it on my playlist, but if I had kind of like a smooth, like hip-hop I would drink cognac to by the fireplace, I would put this on there.
I really like this song, and it's my favorite hip-hop song. So if you know anything that sounds like it, I will listen to it.
There's a bunch that sounds like it in the sense that there's like kind of laid-back instrumentals and a drum, but I can't like think of any that I like that's new or not. Anyway, nothing comes to mind, but there's a ton of music that sounds like this.
It's kind of hard for me to find it because I don't really know what to look for.
Yeah.
Because even this guy's other stuff doesn't exactly do it for me. This song is kind of unique. I don't know. I connect to the lyrics quite a bit. Like, I don't know. I've listened to this song for a long time now, and when I usually listen to it when I am
smoking weed.
No, and I'm like thinking about the future because he kind of like talks about it. No, where he's like he just wants to stay at home and play Xbox.
Yeah.
But his homies keep on hitting up his inbox.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't catch a lot of the lyrics because I just kind of listened to the sound, but that was like the thing where he's just like, I keep doing things. I don't want to do things, which I feel.
Mm-hmm. But it's also like I want to do all this stuff, but like I don't really want to do all that stuff. Maybe he should have a job at the office, but that kind of sounds boring. And that's literally like what he talks about in this song. I don't know. I just like that because like I feel that way about stuff too.
Yeah.
Like I want to do stuff, but I also want to do other stuff, and it's like ugh.
Yeah, I feel that. I want to do nothing. I want to do a lot of things, so I end up doing nothing.
I don't really have anything else for Song of the Week. Do you want to talk about anything else about it?
No, I have nothing else for Song of the Week except listen to more E40.
I will try. But I did have a rapid fire question for you.
Rapid fire question. This is one we haven't had in a long time. Maybe we have a song for
I haven't
this.
had one in a very long time.
Song's probably finished by now, I guess. We could talk about it.
All right, so the rapid fire question is: if you could have one thing named after you, what would you want it to be?
Oh, does that have to be a thing? Like, what define a thing?
Like a item at a restaurant, a building, a car, a painting, a house.
Is it full name, or could it be like a quintuple cheeseburger and they call it the Joseph?
That's fine.
I don't know. I don't really have that kind of a need to like put my name on something. This is tough. Here you go. What do you think? What do you think?
Mine would have to be like a mint chocolate chip ice cream of some kind. They call it the Yazeed. You know, like they call it the Chunky Monkey,
Yeah.
which is like a specific type of ice cream. The Yazeed would be like a type of mint chocolate chip ice cream. It's like very minty.
Okay. No, I don't know. I think it'd be cool to have a building named after me, but I don't know what building it would be. Maybe just a building. You just go do whatever in it. It's like a free-form art. It's like a tech art space. It's just the Joseph building.
A modern work solution or whatever, like where you rent an office space for the day.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Airbnb for workers.
It's like a WeWork, but mixed with, it's like an orgy space where it's like it's open enough for it to be an orgy space, but kind of practical enough to be a WeWork. Like you can do work here or you can do work here. You know what I mean?
What is a WeWork?
Are you serious?
I have no idea what a WeWork is.
It's an Airbnb for office space. It is. We own all this commercial real estate. Dude, go look up a WeWork documentary. They like their whole business model is stupid. They've lost billions of dollars for their owner. SoftBank owns them. It's a whole thing. Anyway, yeah, basically like they just buy up all this commercial office space or they rent it, whatever, and then they just rent it out for more than they paid for it. That's their whole business.
And it's not working out?
No, it's not. You should look it up. Look up look up WeWork. There's like tons of blogs and news articles and videos and stuff about that.
I see.
Yeah.
When you do your holiday episode with Synovia, can you ask her a question for me?
Sure.
Ask her this question, but ask it specifically about a pastry. What pastry would she want to name after herself? Or baked good?
Okay. I'll ask her.
And they go to like, a little patisseria and they ask for the Synovia and they give them a little box of Synovia. It'll be great.
A box of Synovia just sounds like ashes or something. It's really dark.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that part of it.
But yeah, no, I'll ask her. I think we're recording that tomorrow, and then that'll be up next Wednesday, which will be the 20-something. So, yeah.
Nice. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's all for me. I'm very, very happy to go to bed.
Nice. Thanks everyone for listening this whole year. I do appreciate Joseph being here the whole time too.
Yeah. Are we gonna wrap it up, or are we gonna kind of talk about how this year is over and this is our last regular episode?
Oh, let's do that.
Oh yeah. So this year is over, and this is our last regular episode. We'll see you next year. Thanks for listening.
Presumably, there's some time.
I'm just joking. I don't know. Yeah. I'm happy that we made it through this year. This year's been rough. Hopefully, people listening are doing okay. You know, it's been rough for everybody. So I don't know.
Yeah. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Drink eggnog for me, because I've never had eggnog, and let me know how it is.
Eggnog's pretty great. Eggnog's pretty delicious. You got to be expecting eggnog. You can't like reach for the milk and then accidentally grab the eggnog, because that'll throw you off. That's what happened to me as a youth. But eggnog's pretty great. You should try eggnog.
Like, I would have to buy it from the store.
Yeah. What do you?
I don't want to add another item to my grocery list.
You're right. Keep 2 cardboard boxes in your closet or in your corner for 6 months, but buy another item at the grocery store.
Those are there because they're gonna go back to the office, presumably, if we ever forced to go back to the office.
But don't you think you could put them somewhere that's not the floor? I mean, I have shit all over my floor. It's obvious here. I'm just saying, you are not like me. You are better than me in this way.
I mean, I could put it in the closet, but I mean, the only purpose that would serve is to give me busy work of moving it from one location to another.
And the joy of our audience seeing a clean floor on your side of the screen, you know? But no, fuck our audience.
All right, I'll fix it for the next episode. I'll fix it for next year. All right.
Sounds great. That's your New Year's resolution.
I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I'll do it anyway, though.
Great. Well, you're making a change around New Year's, so fuck you. It's a New Year's resolution.
If I do it before New Year's, it's not a New Year's resolution.
Okay.
I have days. Listen, I got days. Don't celebrate Christmas. Maybe I'll do it on Christmas, and then it'll be a little Christmas present to you. And I'll take a picture of the floor and I'll send it to you.
Nice. I like it. I approve.
The actual flex here would be if I take a picture of a random corner in my house and tell you I fixed it, and then when we do the podcast together, it's still there.
I don't know if that's a flex instead of just lying to someone, but I see the vision. All right, I think that's it for us this week, right? I'm gonna wrap us up.
That's all for this year. For me this year.
Yeah. For regular episodes this year. That's gonna do it. Thank you everybody for listening. As always, our music is done by our friend Tynan. He is at Nightan on Bandcamp. That is Nightan, Nytan. Our website is homegames.io. You can go look at the walkie talkie on Pico de Gallo. That's PICODEG.io. We got logs and stuff too, and it'll auto restart. Didn't even talk about that. If it crashes, it'll come back up, so it should still be there. You can find us on Twitter at homegames.io. You can send us messages, emails. You can talk about. You can give us feedback. You can have questions at our email address, podcast@homegames.io as well. Talk to us however you want to talk to us. Thank you for listening this year. Best of luck for next year. We'll see you next year.
Bye-bye.
Bye.